This week, Redis goes proprietary. We'll talk about it. Plus, this nasty Apple Silicon vulnerability is unpatchable and we'll investigate. And what is Snap doing to combat malicious crypto wallets? All of this and more today in this week's Free News. Okay, so there's a new kernel project called Nova. Nova is an open source NVIDIA graphics driver. And you might be thinking, well, hey, wait, don't we already have an open source NVIDIA graphics driver? Yes, we do. But this is only for RTX 2000 series cards and newer, and it's intended to replace the older Nouveau drivers, the existing open source ones. What's fascinating is that Nova is going to be written in Rust. This will pose challenging because most of the compatibility and kernel abstractions needed to write a driver in Rust simply aren't ready yet. The nice thing about Nova only supporting RTX 2000 series and newer cards is that it will allow the developers to really focus on performance. While Nouveau drivers support up to the RTX 40 series cards, the baggage of supporting earlier GTX cards, if my memory serves all the way back to the 600 line, means that there is a ton of added complexity to the driver, and that results in worse performance. Now, it will be fascinating to see how the developers of Nova will push the upstreaming of Rust abstractions into the kernel, and it'll be interesting to see how this project grows over time. So a few weeks ago, we talked about how Ubuntu's Snap package repository, Snapcraft, was hosting and distributing malicious crypto wallets. At least one of their users had thousands of dollars in fake money, cryptocurrency, stolen. Well, Canonical, Ubuntu and Snap's parent company, have announced that they're implementing a temporary fix for this. In their official posting this week, they announced that the Snap store has been, quote, under attack by various publishers attempting to upload malicious crypto wallet snaps. The store team and other engineering teams within Canonical have been working and continuously monitoring new apps that are being registered to detect potentially malicious snaps. The number of malicious snaps being uploaded is not decreasing, and we have been having lengthy discussions on the subject of how to mitigate this. As an immediate measure, we have decided to change the Snap name registration flow. As a result, when you register a new Snap name, you will experience a different workflow where manual review is required. And they go on to share their new process for creating a new app. Now, this will require someone at Canonical to manually review and approve all of the new Snap packages. Now, don't get me wrong, this is a step in the right direction, but it still leaves a lot of room for error. Hopefully, they will have more robust controls and a deeper verification process in the near future. I would love to hear your thoughts on this story. Feed the engagement algorithm and let me know in the comments below. And while you're down there, why not like that smash button? It's the best way to tell YouTube you want to see more videos just like this. You can also follow me over on Mastodon and PeerTube. I've got links below. Okay, so this is big news, and you might have heard about GoFetch already. It's an unpatchable side channel attack against Apple's M1 and M2 CPUs, and perhaps even M3 chips if developers aren't implementing things securely. The way the attack works is based on several caching optimizations in the affected CPUs. Essentially, there are these things called data memory dependent prefetchers, or DMPs. They analyze the code for anything that looks like a pointer in memory, and they try to retrieve it before it's actually needed. This is meant to make things faster, but it's possible that a malicious app could abuse these to extract encryption keys. The way it works is complex, but essentially, a malicious app can manipulate the behavior of the DSPs because, as we said, they will pull in any information that looks like a pointer in memory. Over time, malicious apps can bring in enough of the addresses to exfiltrate an encryption key. Now, according to the authors of this report, this attack can be carried out in less than an hour in optimal scenarios. But the problem is, these are still vulnerabilities that exist in the silicon itself, and there's no way to change them. So any mitigations to this kind of attack is sure to significantly degrade the performance of these affected chips. And the fact that Apple is so proud of their performance on these chips, that's going to be kind of a pain for them. All right, it's been a minute since we've talked about Redis. If you're not aware, it's a key store database that many server-side apps use to speed up their services. Until recently, Redis was licensed under the 3-clause BSD license, but that appears to be no more. Now, future versions of Redis will be dual licensed under the Redis Source Available License, or RSAL version 2, and the Server-Side Public License, or SSPL version 1. Now, this has major implications for a lot of different services and server-side applications, and I really don't think that they thought through this before they made such a decision. So first, what is the RSAL and what is the SSPL? The RSAL is one of those licenses with the stated purpose of non-compete. See, Redis offers their own cloud solution, but since Redis was open source, AWS could come in and offer Redis to their customers, and suddenly Redis has to compete with one of the biggest cloud providers. This sucks, and I can truly understand from a business perspective why they would want to prevent this. And the server-side public license is in a similar vein. The SSPL was created by MongoDB, and basically they wanted Mongo users to use their own cloud solution. So they relicensed the project to prevent AWS from making the database available on their own services in the hopes that it would bring over existing Mongo developers to MongoDB Atlas. Now, I jumped on the Mongo bandwagon early, and everyone was talking about it then. But after they switched to the SSPL, nobody's talking about it. The fact is, developers who were using MongoDB felt like Mongo had essentially betrayed them. And it's the same thing here. Redis has betrayed their community and all the apps that use it too. Offhand, I can think of a few apps that use Redis right now that I'm running on my home lab, Nextcloud, Outline, and so many others. But the fact is, from a legal perspective, is Redis even allowed to do this? See, more than half of the core Redis developers are not Redis employees, and to the best of my knowledge, these outside devs have not signed a contributor license agreement. That means that these devs not only retain the copyright of their contributions, but as far as I know, their contributions under the BSD cannot be relicensed by anyone but the original contributor. And many outside devs are demanding that Redis now remove their code from the project, which is not an easy or trivial thing to do. For example, GitHub user Zuderquas said, "My contributions are made open source under the BSD license. You are not allowed to redistribute or use them in source or binary forms without the original copyright notice and the BSD license. You must remove my contributions." And then GitHub user Jarudka says, "Are you aware that you have just removed Redis from the vast majority of Linux distributions? This is a very bad decision that will not end well for you. Look at Elasticsearch versus OpenSearch, MySQL versus MariaDB, Oracle JDK versus OpenJDK, OpenOffice versus LibreOffice, etc." And all of this is absolutely true. These license terms do not just restrict the usage of AWS or other cloud providers, but they also restrict the inclusion of these apps from Linux repos. It's terrible. The worst part of all of this, though, is that when Antirez, the creator of Redis, left the project, he was promised by the people who took it over that it would stay under the BSD. 5 years later, that was proven to be a lie. There are already forks of Redis at this point, but let's call this what it is: a rug pull. Look, there are ethical ways to do this. Honestly, I'm sympathetic to the rationale for doing so. Why should independent developers or small companies work for free just to get jeffed by the big guy? Jeffed being, of course, Jeff Bezos. But when you look at this objectively, in order for Redis to not be jeffed by AWS, they basically just jeffed their community developers. It's wrong, it's unethical, and we need to be better as a community. Let me know your thoughts down below about this situation with Redis, or any of the stories that we talked about today. I'd love to hear your take, especially on this last one, because honestly, I don't know what a lot of open source projects are going to do unless they switch over to one of these open source forks of Redis. I think that's going to do it for now, though. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to check out another news video, you can check it out here. I also have my D&D game over here that I'm doing with my brothers and my girlfriend, so check that out here. Thanks for watching. Thanks to my patrons for supporting this show, and I'll see you guys in the next one.